Crack open a tepid Genesee and watch the pictures as they travel through your neighbor's Wi-Fi. It's the Rees Company. I'm Steve Rees, the bull of American broadcasting, alongside the great Chris Morganti. And we're very excited to join you on this holiday weekend. Thanksgiving was yesterday. You're going to see this later, but we're recording this the day after Thanksgiving, which I think is Boxing Turkey something. I don't know how that works. And,
well, it's Black Friday.
Black Friday, that's it. So did you do any Black Friday shopping?
No.
Did you celebrate Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I had some turkey.
How was that?
It was moist enough.
And you went to your parents?
Yeah, my mom cooks a good turkey. So shout out to Mom.
Well, that's fantastic. And I'll tell you, my plans for Thanksgiving were saved in this very studio. After the show last week, I was telling Chris and also Jim that my mother is hosting Thanksgiving this year, and her oven needs repairs. There was a particular part on order, but it couldn't be fixed until this part arrived. And due to supply chain issues, with which everybody's dealing with right now, it was in doubt. It was up in the air whether her oven would be fixed in time. Then Jim said, Mike O'Donnell, friend of the show. Well, he didn't say that, but you folks know Mike O'Donnell, and he is a friend of the show. Jim said, Mike has an air fryer back here you can borrow. And after days of my Thanksgiving being in jeopardy, I realized I have an air fryer, which hadn't occurred to me. So then it turned into a discussion as to whether a standard size air fryer could cook a 19-pound turkey. You remember that?
Yeah.
And like a ninny, what I didn't realize at the time was that the point was probably, you want to say it, Chris?
Moot?
Here's how I was prepared to describe it. The odd word in that Rick Springfield song that the A-bomb has to turn down.
Oh.
When he gets to that part because she hates that term.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the reason, let's put it this way. The reason the size of the air fryer vis-a-vis the size of the turkey was irrelevant. You can also use that, and that doesn't piss anybody off. And for reasons I'm not prepared to disclose, someday I might on the show, I actually own almost every kitchen appliance ever invented.
Right.
Including multiple roasters, one of which you could use to host a luau. Now, we have a photo of the actual roaster that we used to save Thanksgiving. Can we show that to the folks?
Yeah, I got to say, when you first said about air frying a turkey, I thought it would sound kind of insane. So I'm glad that you found an alternate solution.
Oh, not just an alternate solution. I think the ultimate solution.
Yeah, because I don't think the air fryer would have turned out well for you.
This thing is huge. It easily fit the 19-pound turkey. And I guess the folks are going to see this in a second. But the fact...
I think, Jim, are you buying one? What's going on over there?
Yeah, I think
he's looking to purchase
a roaster, which is odd because I have at least 30 for sale. Okay, there it is. There's the roaster.
Well, you don't really get a sense
in my possession.
You don't really get a sense of how big that is from that picture. But.
No, you don't. But you could put a man next to it, and he would be half the size. You know when they put the man next to the dinosaur?
Yeah, there you go.
Illustrate. Yeah. So I'll tell you, that is sitting on top of Washington's head on Mount Rushmore. That's an actual photo.
Next to Donald Trump's. Have you seen that story?
No, I haven't. What's going on there?
Well, apparently in his office he has a sculpture of
I know what this is.
A five-headed Mount Rushmore. It was a gift, apparently.
It was a gift from our governor, Kristi Noem.
Oh, the South Dakota.
The governor of South Dakota. Yeah. And I guess you folks know that I have history in South Dakota. We'll put it that way. Our governor did have that mocked up for him and sent to him as a gift.
Which he apparently proudly displays.
Well, why wouldn't he?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, if someone gave
I don't know.
One of those,
gee, why not? Humility? Maybe that's why he would do that.
And Jim says Trump has no humility.
Oh, that's certain. Anyway, back to the turkey. How'd it turn out?
Oh, it turned out fantastic. Now, my mother's oven was repaired in time, but we used the roaster anyway. And the A-bomb actually did the cooking and did a wonderful job. but it's amazing that escaped me. I own all of this malarkey.
Yeah.
Never occurred to me. I have food processors, bread machines, a go-go. Funnily enough, we don't have a pop-de-ping.
A what?
I would like one. I grew up with a pop-de-ping in the house, and I found it very convenient because my mother isn't much of a cook. She's not a bad cook, but she's not a willful cook.
Yeah,
She'll
I
do
gotcha.
it if she has to,
Yeah.
but it's not something she enjoys, so she'd rather not. So the pop-de-ping was an essential household appliance when I was a boy,
I have no idea what this
which
is.
I kept pointing out yesterday, partially in hopes of getting a pop-de-ping for Christmas, partially to annoy, and partially in the hopes that someone would ask me what the hell I'm talking about. And Chris, it seems as though you've just done that very thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like something you would make popcorn in, to me.
No. I read recently that a lot of people believe pop-de-ping means microwave in the Welsh language. And to many Welsh speakers, it's ridiculous because what people say is pop-de-ping literally means oven that goes ping. And of course, Welsh speakers think that's ridiculous that anyone, let alone many folks, believe that to be the case. It's not the case, Chris. The real term is microdon. Micro, meaning micro, and don, meaning wave. It's a very literal translation, but here's my favorite part. A lot of Welsh speakers have actually started to use pop-de-ping in place of microdon as an inside joke, like an ironic thing. This is what we always say because that's what people say. It's what we say, even though no one has ever said this. So in a way, this legend of unknown origin has become reality, and I would like to see it expand.
I still have no explanation as to what the pop-de-ping is.
It's legend has it that that's what Welsh people call a microwave.
So that's what it is. It's a microwave.
No, that's not what it is. It's nothing. It's nonsense.
Oh, it's not a thing at all.
No.
Gotcha.
Is it spelled micro dong, like long dong silver?
No. Microdon.
Oh, don.
MEICHRO, I believe, DON.
You know, I got to be honest with you, Steve. I didn't even know that a roaster was like a separate appliance. I didn't know those existed. But it sounds like a very useful thing to have.
Yeah, just as useful as a pop-de-ping.
Well, it sounds kind of like a crock pot, though. You just throw it in there and leave it go for like 5 hours? Is that how it works?
The roaster, it heats up, and but you can do things very quickly. In fact, the turkey cooked in far fewer hours than Andrea had predicted, and it still turned out wonderfully.
Seems like making a turkey in your oven is now like has now fallen to last place in it went from first to last in the last few years. Now everyone's frying them and smoking them and roasting them, and like all I hear is people frying and smoking turkeys.
See, there are many ways to cook a turkey.
Yeah. My mom still goes with the right in the oven, like has been done for hundreds of years.
And that's understandable, but it takes like 18 hours or something. You have to get up the night before, and you have to shove coal in. I don't even know what goes on.
I think she gets up at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is funny or not. We can delete it and take it out. But I found this song parody about pop-de-ping.
Oh boy!
Do you want me to play it?
Yeah, let's hear this.
Adam.
Yeah?
You know something?
What's that?
That microwave in Welsh is pop-de-ping.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to make a song about it?
Yeah, go on then.
When you want something warmer 'cause it's not very warm, put it in the pop-de-ping. Like a steak, a cake, or a juicy piece of corn, put it in the pop-de-ping. With the push of a button you can give your food heat, put it in the pop-de-ping. So that chicken or whatever will be better to eat, put it in the pop-de-ping.
It's a simple device, very easy to
How
use.
long is it?
Put it in the pop-de-ping.
If you don't know how to work it, well, here's some
I'm
clues.
already annoyed.
Put it in the pop-de-ping.
You know when it's done 'cause you hear that.
Put it in the pop-de-ping.
So come on everybody, push that button and sing!
Put it in the pop-de-ping. Pop-de-ping. Put it in the pop-de-ping. Pop-de-ping. Put it in the pop-de-ping.
What annoyed you about that, Chris? You said during that you were annoyed.
Because I feel like it's going to get stuck in my head, and I'll be driving home
that's
later
what
going,
is. So
put it in the
it's more of an
pop-de-ping.
earworm situation. You're not annoyed that appeared on our program.
No, it's fine.
Okay. Well, I'm all for this, and I'll tell you why. I would like pop-de-ping to be the accepted general term for microwave in any language. And I would like the show, the Rees Company, to be the catalyst for that. So please, if you're watching the show and you ever refer to a microwave, please say pop-de-ping in place of the more traditional microwave.
Here's your problem, Steve. You got like refrigerator, right? 3-syllable word. What do people abbreviate that to? Fridge, right? You got microwave, 3-syllable word. You're trying to abbreviate that with another 3-syllable word. It's never going to catch on.
Not abbreviate that, just change what the term is.
Yeah, but people aren't going to adapt it unless it's
think
shorter.
You think people
want to
adapt
save
for brevity?
time? Yes, that's the only reason these terms get adopted is brevity.
What's more brief, sure or shizzle?
But who do you know that says shizzle?
Well, practically everybody.
All right. Well, we'll agree to disagree.
Practically everybody who makes more money than I do. The hell happened to this earth?
Boy, that was redundant. Present company excluded, of course.
So is there anything you would like to talk about?
No. Well, you know, Steve, I'm very excited. I believe it was yesterday or the day before. The 6-hour Peter Jackson version of the Beatles' "Let It Be" movie
I'd like to
was
see
released.
Were you able to watch it?
Not yet, but I'm going to try and watch it this weekend, and I can't wait.
And this is he took all, I guess, the raw footage from the Let It Be documentary that came out in, I guess, 1970.
I believe I read it was like 60 hours of footage that he had.
60 hours of footage. And the original documentary was notorious for showing the band at their lowest point as far as communicating with each other, getting along. There was a lot of infighting.
Right.
I think at one point George quits.
Yes, he did.
And he comes back with...
and they said to him, if he's not back by Tuesday, we're getting Clapton, which is so funny. I mean, how replaceable they thought him to be.
Yeah, and it's kind of ridiculous. I think, Clapton can play the right notes, but he's an autistic kind of a player. He has no soul. He has no feeling. And Harrison was a better guitarist, in my opinion.
He's a better songwriter, for sure.
And the better songwriter. What song's better written than Something?
Right, exactly. I mean, it's at the top of the Beatles catalog, which is,
right.
you know. But, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And
but what I want to get to about this is we were talking about the kind of the negativity that the original film portrayed.
Yeah,
and it was a difficult time, admittedly, by all parties.
Right.
They were at the end. They did one album after this, and it was they threw it out there, but they were at the end. They were having management issues, and also then they had all gotten married.
Well, that's kind of the thing is that. Peter Jackson, who, if you don't know the name, directed the Lord of the Rings movies. And I'm glad that they got a director of that caliber to do this project. But he didn't, I guess you could find a few negative things if you look at the raw footage, but he didn't want to focus on that, So you really get a whole different picture. And just what you were saying, they had all gotten married. So, of course, Yoko is a big part of this. But I haven't seen it, but I read a review, and they said there's one part where they announced that Yoko's divorce became final, which meant that they could finally get married, and they were all like so happy for him, like they were all, they all grew up together and achieved greatness together. They were all good friends.
On one of the anthology records, I think that announcement comes through. They're in the studio and they start playing a song in celebration.
Yeah.
Of the divorce from Cynthia.
Yeah.
So there was still somewhat of a camaraderie, but they were kind of, I guess they were all kind of turning on Paul at the time because he wanted his father-in-law to manage them, and they wanted this guy, Alan Klein, who had become the manager of the Rolling Stones. The rest of the band wanted that. And the Stones ended up having to sue him because he stole so much money from them. So ultimately, Paul might have been right. It just felt like a conflict of interest to the rest of the band. People blame Yoko, but it was an entire...
Yeah.
It was a business decision.
Yeah, there was a lot of dynamics going on there. And Paul really, like, in the early days, John was the leader because he was just the oldest. But that changed over the years.
The oldest of the songwriters, yeah.
Well, yeah, Ringo was older. You're right. But yeah, John was the leader in the beginning. and then like he just didn't want to do it anymore. And Paul was the one really driving. He was the one who call them all up and be like, "Hey man, we got a studio booked tomorrow. Like, make sure you're there." Like he was the one kind of driving those later albums forward, and so it built up some animosity. But Paul wasn't in the wrong. He was just trying to get some work done,
Right,
you know?
right.
And thank God he did, or we wouldn't have those last few albums, which are the best, probably. But
And speaking of a thank God he did or thank God they did sort of thing, one of the things that Peter Jackson mentions in one of the articles I read was that the Beatles wanted to do their own film adaptation of Lord of the Rings.
oh, really? I never heard this.
And he was glad they didn't. Well, for obvious reasons, but also he found that interesting that was something that they had talked about and were very interested in doing. I'm glad they didn't, because apparently this was in 1968, so the White Album may not have been what it was if they had pursued this project instead.
Wouldn't you have figured if there was a British super band wanting to remake Lord of the Rings, it would have been Led Zeppelin?
Sure. So all their songs are about.
A lot of them, yeah. The ones that they didn't steal from black guys
Right.
were about Lord of the Rings.
So their songs were about sex and Lord of the Rings. Two things that are very rarely in the same company. But yes, I also think so many things coming together at the same time causing tension. I won't even say animosity within the band that are now historical. There was, I guess, they did Let It Be first, and then they recorded Abbey Road. There was an interview that came to light a few years ago that it was after they recorded Abbey Road, apparently, and they were talking about their next album. Now, history doesn't remember that. History doesn't remember it that way. They recorded Abbey Road. They put it out. They put out Let It Be, and then they were done.
Right,
McCartney 1 came out, and everything was done.
right.
There's audio of them talking about their next album. So that kind of changed history in a sense, that what we all thought we knew was not entirely the case.
Yeah.
And of course, in that interview, Paul says that he didn't really think much of George's songwriting until the last album.
Wait, what was that?
Paul didn't think very much of George's songwriting until the last album.
Until he wrote something, which we talked about.
Right. But still, I mean, he had been killing it.
Yeah.
Before. There's so many great songs. So I would like to see that too. I'm not sure I have access, but I would definitely like to see it.
Well, I mean, they'd planned a theatrical release until it got to be 6 hours, and then obviously that's not practical. So it's on Disney Plus. So I don't know if you get that. I will have to pirate it from my 11-year-old daughter who has it. But yeah, I'm hoping to see that this weekend.
Is your daughter a Beatles fan? I know she's in the movie.
Oh, yeah, she's a huge Beatles fan. Only because that's what I would always play.
Right.
You know,
But
it didn't
you
seem
can't-
appropriate to play like Rage Against the Machine for like a 5-year-old. But the Beatles seemed safe enough, so I would always just play Beatles music in the car. Or what was the other one we were a big fan of? Warren Zevon.
Oh yeah.
which I had to mute at certain points.
Sure,
but,
sure. There are certain songs you don't want to.
Yeah. But yeah, she's a huge Beatles fan. So maybe,
Well, that's cool.
maybe I'll get to see it with her. I don't know.
That'd be nice. And because of that, rock and roll will never die. Can I say this? If you come here for the movie of the week, you're going to be a little bit disappointed. Not entirely disappointed. We do have something for you. But you're going to be a little disappointed because there really is no movie of the week this week. But there will be one next week that I'd like to talk a little about. It's a 1986 CBS Sunday night movie entitled Who is Julia? And it stars Mare Winningham. You know that name, Chris?
No.
Strangely, this was shot just a year after she played her most notable role in St. Elmo's Fire, or the one that made her famous.
Yeah, I never saw that movie, but I'm a big fan of the title song, I guess. But well, not a big fan. I don't know. I like it. But her name is Mare?
Mare. Not Mare like Mare Zokitis.
McCheese?
No, Mare like M-A-R-E, like female horse, which is horrible.
Yeah, what a who would name their daughter that?
Yeah, it's not a good label to put on somebody.
Right. Okay.
But St. Elmo's Fire was a major motion picture, and
Sure.
a year later she's doing this. Now, I understand perhaps a decade later she was nominated for an Oscar, so this wasn't the
What?
end.
For what?
I have no idea. My research on this was cursory. It's been a very busy week.
Yeah, it's a holiday week.
Yeah, everything until Jim saved Thanksgiving, everything was confusing and troubling. Now, I want to show a scene from this film. And the scene we're going to watch, it's near the start of the film. Mayor Winningham has taken her bonehead son to the mall to visit Santa.
Okay.
Chris,
Oh, is it a holiday themed movie?
well, only in the sense, I think only in the scene. I haven't seen the entire film,
Okay.
which again is why we only have one clip. But I think it's interesting enough for us to pursue.
But we'll watch this for next week,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, this kid's terrified of Santa. In the presence of Santa Claus, he feels as though he is in harm's way. Now, I
Okay.
want you to remember that when you watch this clip. So he and his mother, Mayor Winningham, they leave the mall. They come to a street corner, and this occurs.
Oh, you are
Now, is
getting
that
so
her?
heavy these days.
Or is that
You're gonna have to
her?
carry your mom.
Who's the blonde? She's very attractive.
Oh, honey.
Why not? No, can we pause it? Now, you said that I expected him to be walking out in fear of Santa, but he clearly said doggy.
Yeah.
So he's going to pet a dog.
Yeah, he sees a dog across the street.
Okay. And this man recklessly driving a cement truck,
Well, he has the light,
he has a light. Fair enough. All right.
and he has a place to be.
This woman wasn't breathing when we got to the scene.
No vital signs, and we haven't been able to resuscitate her. It's the damnedest thing. There's not a mark on her body. Now, this woman was hit by a cement truck, and she's still breathing.
You're not going to believe it when you look under that blanket.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, God.
No blood pressure.
Epinephrine?
Okay, that's not the last time a doctor in this film does a surprise take after looking at this woman's mangled midsection.
I was hoping to see her with like a tire, like her flattened out back with a tire track across it, like in a Roadrunner cartoon. But yeah, I actually saw a coroner unload a dead body today. So
Oh, man.
that's why I'm like, second time today I got to see.
So you're still shell shocked.
No, it was fine. It was just I'd just never seen that before. So whatever. It didn't throw me or anything. But how often are you hanging outside of a coroner's office?
Right. Years ago I was a courier, and I was
this her?
delivering mail to a hospital, and there was a Pepsi truck delivering Pepsi for all the vending machines in the hospital, but he was taking up the spot. So there was a guy, a dead body, on a gurney, sitting on the loading dock because the coroner was waiting for the Pepsi truck to leave the spot so he could continue with his day. It's a very bizarre thing that happens, I'm sure, to many people, but nobody ever talks about. But it's just part of death, as they say. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is odd. He pulls up the blanket, and oh, man. That happens multiple times. And it doesn't get less odd, especially when you find out the batshit crazy operation that takes place due to this double medical emergency has nothing to do with anything below the belt.
Well, it sounds like you saw a lot of this.
Yeah, I saw maybe half, yeah.
Well, what's the body count in half the film?
Well, I don't want to ruin it for you.
All right. What struck me was if we could go back to like halfway through that, it seemed like the mother, like she wasn't trying to grab the child and rush him to safety. She wasn't trying to push him out of the way. She just almost in a suicidal way threw herself in front of the truck. And the kid just wanders out from a bunch of pedestrians.
That's not the mother.
Well, who
The
got
mother
hit?
is Mayor Winningham. The woman who rescues him is the model who's just waiting in traffic with everybody else.
So she jumped
She
out of
sees
her
this
car
happen, yeah,
and dives in front of a cement truck.
to save this moron's life.
Even
yeah.
though the kid was obviously behind several pedestrians on the sidewalk, as we can clearly see in this clip.
Well, they have things to do.
But it didn't seem like he was ever in any danger. Why was he behind all those people?
Well, let's see it again. Let's see the actual incident again.
She just laid down in front of it. So that was the mom that fainted.
She pushed him out of the way. Yeah, that's his mother fainted.
Right. I get that they're trying to say that she pushed him out of the way, but that did not look like that at all. And why is he saying mommy? Oh, because she fainted. Okay.
This woman wasn't breathing when we got to
Okay.
the scene.
Simultaneously.
Signs
as
we
they
haven't been
say
able to
in
resuscitate
culture.
So who's
her.
that
It's a
being
damn
wheeled
mark
in?
on her body.
That's
Now,
the
this
mom?
woman was hit by
'Cause that looks
cement
like a
truck and
brunette.
she's still
That's the
breathing.
mother. Yeah.
So what? So
There
the
are two patients.
You're not going to believe
So
it
the
when
mother
you
had
look
an
under that
aneurysm,
blanket.
and the model. Oh boy!
God.
Look at that. It's
So-
ruined forever.
so he's looking at the model. Yeah,
Yes.
he does that. Not the other.
No blood pressure.
That's the different person.
That is Mayor Winningham.
This is all right, Jim. Can you pause? This is shot in such a confusing freaking manner. How are people not confused by what the hell's going on here?
They have to rush it because the plot is so complicated. The scene we see when the incident occurs,
Yeah.
the horrible mangling of this woman's privates,
Yeah.
that happens immediately after the credits stop rolling.
Wow.
So they're trying to jam a lot into this because there's a whole lot going on. Because what they decide to do, there are concerns about ethics.
In what way?
Well, we'll talk about this next week
Oh, okay.
when
All right.
we've all seen the film. And maybe folks will like to watch this film. If you're seeing this, even if you're seeing this 5, 10, 20 years from now, and you haven't seen our analysis of the film called Who is Julia, you might want to watch it before you check out the one where we actually discuss this. Now, as I said, I've only seen the first half, Chris. I can only hope the second half is this stupid kid spending the rest of his life atoning for this idiocy, rightly blaming himself for all this carnage. Now,
No, I have to disagree with you there because it seemed like he was in no danger whatsoever. If I were to look from what I saw, rather than the supposition here, so I don't think that woman needed to do that. But all right,
but she got hit for a reason.
because
She was in the same path.
we
he
clearly
was.
saw her just
He pushed her
dive
out
in
of
front
the
of
way.
that truck. I believe that was a suicide attempt. That's the way it appeared to me. But I don't know.
Well, I won't tell you what happens to the women because of this fool, though in that clip it is made somewhat clear what happened to one part of one of them. But let's not forget about the guy who's scarred mentally for life, racked with guilt because he couldn't stop his cement mixer in time because some 8-year-old Marucci just stood there and held his ears because the noise was the biggest problem he was facing in that moment.
Well, to be fair, I didn't hear even the faintest hint of brakes being applied. So I gotta believe this guy's like, fuck it.
Well, it all happened so fast.
Yeah.
I'm team cement mixer guy.
All right. All right.
Out of everybody in this. And I was going to save this until we talked about the film, but it did. That scene did remind me of when I was a boy. I was, I don't know, I want to say 9, 10. In Mitchell,
Well, which
South
is
Dakota.
it?
There was one night, and I think I talked about this on the show before. There was one night in Mitchell, South Dakota. My mother, myself, my grandparents, we were walking down the street, and for some reason there were a lot of muscle cars around. I guess there was some event.
Oh, okay.
And one of these cars just backed up as we were crossing the street. And I was in the path, and my mother yanked me out of the way in time, but she was really, really shaken
Yeah.
because she felt like there was a traumatic moment. I mean, she could have lost her son.
Sure.
And then maybe 5, 6 years ago, we were walking down that same street in Mitchell, and we hadn't talked about this
Right.
in the intervening decades. And my mother just casually said, that's the block where that guy almost ran you over. And I thought, man, yeah, I remember that. But it wasn't something I thought about often, but I can understand why a mother would have that reaction to, this, because
I have one of those moments myself,
Yeah.
and I won't describe it. You got to allow me that on my own personal life. But,
absolutely.
But I do have one of those moments where it's like, oh man, I nearly, what's the expression? Screwed the pooch, I guess. if that's how you want to describe the potential death of your child. But yeah. I'm sure most parents have that, or hopefully not. I hope not.
Yeah, it happens. And as I've said on this show, but I think it was one of the shows that nobody could hear. Season 1. I'm sure this was in season 1.
Wow.
Being a parent, the one thing I can't imagine is, that I can imagine. I imagine being a parent is just constant fear.
I will tell you, the first 6 months, that's all it is, because they're so fragile. That I just remember just constantly being, okay, she's breathing. Okay, that's good. Like once you get past 6 months, you start to relax, and they start to be not so fragile, and things get a little bit better. But yeah, I think I interrupted you. So.
Oh no, that was the answer I was looking for. But also, I mean, even in stores, I see people walk with their children, and their children are walking 2-3 feet behind them, and I just panic. And they're not even my kids. I think, why is anybody letting this happen? I could never do that. Well, that's why I'm also probably glad I'm not a parent, because I would be one of these constant fuss budgets.
No, I think
is that the term?
I think
misery guts, a worrywart, a pop-de-ping. I don't even know what anything means anymore.
I think you'd adopt well, but I am excited to watch this movie, unlike the last few, which I kind of bailed on because they were just so awfully boring. But,
so you're into this one.
This looks pretty good based on the first
scene. I was
scene.
concerned, but wait till you see what they actually decide to do with these women.
All right.
It's not what you'd ever guess.
Cyborgs? Is that
so? Don't look it up, and I'm the audience can do so and judge whether they want to watch it.
Is it really cyborgs?
No, Chris.
Oh,
I will say that, but I'm not answering any more questions.
All right.
I do hope you enjoy the film. I don't think it's going where you think it will.
All right.
And
no, clearly not.
Just watch the film blindly, and come to your own conclusions in the intervening time. Is there anything we didn't talk about you might want to talk about?
I don't know. What do you want to talk about? We've only done like a third of a show, I think, so far.
Okay,
so.
well, that's not how this works, Chris. I mean, if there's something you want to talk about, we can talk about it. We also don't have to bother people.
Well, I was out at a bar Saturday, and there was a fight broke out, and not your usual. I think we talked a few weeks ago about how you don't often see that. I believe I was the one who said that. You don't often see bar fights anymore. It's almost a thing of the past. But this bar fight was a little bit different. This was, I thought, a fight between two women, which you see often enough, but it seemed to involve a man as well. I couldn't really tell what the hell was going on, but it was later determined that this man was mad at lesbians, and somehow that set off the fight. So I think maybe he said an anti-lesbian comment to the one woman, and the other woman, who was very tall. In fact, this won't mean much to the audience, but to you, I did a double take when she walked in because I thought it was my ex-wife. That's
okay.
how.
All right, yeah.
So that gives you a picture of.
Right.
Right. So, but I think that this tall woman came to the defense of the slurred lesbian, I guess.
Okay, so they were not a couple, these two.
I don't think so. Man, I still don't really know. But anyway, so we're all sitting around. I was there with a few friends, and we're all sitting around like, what the hell's going on here? No, like real like fisticuffs or anything, but a lot of pushing and shoving. They all three get thrown out, but then the two women walk back in, and the guy never returns. Now, this was in a bar called Tom's in Royersford, so big plug to them.
Yeah, this is a ringing endorsement for the
live
clientele.
music every Saturday night and the potential for a lesbian fight. So we're at Tom's, and the thing that really annoyed me about this fight, Steve, was
That it wasn't in mud?
well, yeah, that, but also some old fat lady. Well, all this is going
With a fanny pack.
Yeah.
Sitting outside a paintball place. Old fat lady with a fanny pack. Sitting outside a paintball place. So we're taking it back to an old school bit from the old show. Sorry, Chris.
Very
I
old
didn't mean to
school.
interrupt you. Very, very.
Is that still available for anyone to see?
I'm not sure. We'll put it out there again.
All
We
right.
got to give Jim the recording so we can play it sometime.
So
So an old fat lady.
yeah. So while all this is like calming down, there's a right behind. I'm sitting at the bar. Right behind me is a table of like 3 younger girls, and this mess turns around to these girls and says, "Don't laugh. It's not funny." And I was just, I was like, "Fuck you, lady! Like, who is she? Can you imagine saying that to another adult? Like, I wouldn't even say that to a 6-year-old." And who, like, obviously it is funny. That's why they're laughing. It just annoyed me so much that
It
this lady.
sparked a humorous response.
It annoyed me so much that this lady said that. So now I'm almost like, maybe I'm going to be like this guy and go over and punch this lady for saying that. But anyway,
You were that close?
no,
It crossed your mind?
no, it's just annoying. Can you imagine?
Right.
Like what person says something like that? So anyway, we leave that bar and we go to another bar, right? And we're playing pool, and all of a sudden in walks in the guy, the lesbian hater, right? So I'm with a guy and 2 girls, and the girls are going, "Hey, look, it's a lesbian hater." Right? So he looks over and is like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" Like I don't know. Like this guy apparently has a track record of punching women, right? So I'm like, if he comes over here, then what? Now what happens, right? So I'm trying to I'm like, "Hey man, seems like I had a rough time over there. You all right?" Like trying to disarm the whole thing. And he's like, I don't know what happened. I didn't say anything to those women." So now I'm thinking like, maybe this guy just got caught up in a bad situation.
Possible, yeah.
Right? So then he goes to the bar and gets a drink. We finish up our game of pool. We go to the bar. And as soon as we get to the bar, this guy's being tossed out again. For what? I don't even know. But once he exits the building, I know the bartender, and I'm like, "Man, we just saw him get tossed out of Tom's." And he goes, "Every time that guy's been in here, I've had to toss him out." So apparently I was wrong about this guy being falsely accused. And apparently he's a real big problem.
Yeah,
so,
he has a track record.
yeah. So I guess everyone was in the right in those 2 situations.
You ever been tossed out of a bar?
Once, and it was when I was 21. And
Fair enough.
yeah. So I've never.
And when you're 21, also, you don't really know what you're doing yet. You don't know how to manage your drinking in a meaningful way.
Not only did I not know how to manage my drinking, but I was meeting my friends down at the shore, and I had worked second shift the night before. So at this point, I was up approximately 30-some hours. So imagine being awake for that long and drinking yourself into oblivion.
Right, and only drinking, and I assume no drugs, to keep you awake for that long. So you're fighting.
I may have had coffee. That was what was keeping me going.
All right.
So yeah, I'm a mess, and I decide that the bartender is not serving me quick enough. So I'll remedy this situation.
Oh wait,
Steve.
you're doing this. You're doing this.
I was doing a lot more than that.
Oh.
So I decided I'm going to remedy this situation. I'll just go back and serve myself a tall, frosty glass of beer. At which point I was summarily picked up and literally tossed out of the bar. And then I learned my lesson after that.
Yeah. Well, that's a rookie mistake.
And I haven't been kicked out since. I'm a good patron of a bar.
Yeah, you absolutely are, and you mesh well in any bar situation.
It seems that way. I seem to, yeah.
Yeah, you make friends easily.
Yeah. I was trying to make friends with the lesbian hater, but maybe that's not the best idea.
Well, that's because you have a good heart and you gave him the benefit of the doubt.
I
You
did,
said,
yeah.
here's a guy who may have been wrongly accused of something.
Yeah, apparently not.
I wonder what it was. I used to the bar in a place I used to live, a place we've been together many times. I'm not going to mention the name. I've mentioned it many times, but I'm not going to say it for this reason. Every once in a while, I'd be in there, and I'd go like a couple nights a week. And the cops would show up.
For what? Noise?
Well, no, not noise. But they'd be looking for somebody.
Oh.
And not that they would expect that person to be there, but they would know that somebody there might be able to tell them where this person was.
Now, is this a fugitive?
Well, no, not a particular person. That this would happen regularly. The cops would show up.
Oh, okay.
And find,
okay.
Oh, this guy probably knows where our suspect is.
Oh, okay.
So that would happen. I don't want to make it out that it was often, but it would happen often enough where it became noticeable.
Yeah.
This is a place where the cops go find informants. So that was, yeah, cheers. I'm not going to give them a plug.
I'm gonna have to ask you after the show which place it was now, because I'm not. I've narrowed it down to 2, but
it's the one. Well, I'll tell you.
Are we wrapping up, Steve?
I think we did it.
So what's the show we're gonna have for next week? I forgot the name of it.
It's called Who is Julia?
Who is Julia?
Yeah, and
So-
this is something I recommend. Chris, go ahead.
So the audience can watch it in the intervening week, and then you know.
And the great thing, if you watch this on YouTube, which I think is the only place you can find this, it has the original, what was it, KCBS commercials
Oh,
from
that's great.
1986. So that's also something. And if you find something in a commercial you want to discuss or analyze,
I'm sure, yeah.
we can do that as well.
And also the Beatles movie. If we get a chance to watch that, I'm sure we'll have. We actually talked a lot about the. Did you plan that? I didn't plan that at all, but.
To talk about the Beatles?
Yeah.
No. But I'm always willing to talk about the
Yeah,
Beatles.
we're big. We're both big. Most people are big Beatles fans, so it's a popular topic of conversation. So,
Yeah.
if we see that, we'll talk about that too next week.
And I'm looking forward to, I guess, to cop a phrase, a kinder, gentler version of that part of the Beatles.
Yeah, they don't
You're
deserve to have their legacy be tainted by a messy divorce. You know,
Right.
they were better than that, and
But
they
it was
were
also a
better
very-
friends than that.
A very neat way of explaining something where everybody on the planet was trying to find some reasoning for it so that they could deal with it and move on.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
needed they needed to be able to finger point.
and Yoko Ono took most of the blame for that. At least a while ago she did, but I don't know that that's deserved, and so we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, well, hopefully
Jim?
I'll
I
let
just
you
want to
go,
ask a
Jim.
question.
Yeah.
Do you think they would have been iconic the way they are if they would have continued as long as, like, say, the Stones? Say Lennon never died. They're still touring. Would they still be as iconic as they are considered now?
I can give my opinion on this easily. I think if they had stuck around another 5 years and then quit, they could have maintained it. Because when you think about all the best Beatles solo stuff came out in that 5 years. You would have had bits of Imagine, All Things Must Pass. Maybe I'm Amazed is a fantastic song, and it would have been great to hear George play that solo. Yeah, I think if they combined forces in those 5 years, put out the best of what they put out, because in fairness, McCartney and especially Lennon, their solo work was spotty at best. George was by far
George is my
the
favorite.
best solo artist, yeah. But he had a lot in the chamber because they wouldn't let him put songs on the record. So I do think if they held on another 5 years, but not beyond that.
I think about that because, like people talk about the Doors and Nirvana dying early, and would they have been considered iconic if they can, like today with Nirvana? Would they still be going? Would the Doors still be doing these? Our retirement tour 16 times.
I'm not sure Nirvana would still be going simply because Cobain was such an iconoclast that his next album he wanted to sound like an R.E.M. record.
Yeah,
So how much do you
right.
need Dave Grohl on an R.E.M. record? It's
But I also don't feel like are the Rolling Stones not icons just because they kept going? Like I feel like they still
are, but the Beatles never dipped.
right.
The Stones have dipped.
The Stones don't sell out. Like their albums don't do as well as.
Well,
they
no,
once did.
they shouldn't.
Yeah, but no rock albums do.
But that doesn't take anything away from
Anymore.
what they did.
But they haven't been since like 1980 either, though. I mean, rock albums still did well in that time.
They've had some.
But that still doesn't take anything away from what they did in the 60s and the 70s. Like, I don't.
No, it doesn't. But
I
the
feel like
Beatles are on a pedestal with Elvis, and I don't think the Rolling Stones are on that pedestal.
Well,
and if I
here's
feel
how-
like if we reversed it, would the Rolling Stones say be on that pedestal, and the Beatles?
The Rolling Stones were copying the Beatles throughout the entire 60s. They only really got their own sound in the 70s. So, I mean, it's hard to see them as being bigger than the Beatles, in my mind. Am I wrong about that? Everyone's staring at me now. Am I wrong about
No.
this?
Well, I'm
not
confused
saying-
about them stealing from the Beatles. I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, they did her.
Her Majesty's
Yeah.
Satanic. Their response to
Throughout
Sgt.
the
Pepper.
60s, they would put an album out 6 months after the Beatles
Right,
did.
but I would
that was
put it-
kind of copying what the Beatles had done.
I would put it. I would say late '60s. They found their own path.
Well, all right. So we're arguing. over a
I
couple
realize
years.
it's a year or two. It doesn't much matter. But as far
By
as
the late
the,
60s,
as
the
far as
Beatles
the
weren't
Stones
the
go,
same
here's
Beatles, though.
here's the metric as far as I'm concerned. If you go see the Rolling Stones, how many songs did they do past Tattoo You?
I've never seen them, so I don't
I'm
know.
guessing 0.
Right.
Even though there was a lot of great stuff from Steel Wheels and Voodoo Lounge and Bridges to Babylon and all that, they probably do none of those songs live anymore.
Yeah, there were some good songs on those albums. Yeah.
But all they care about, and the Stones are a very commercial band. I mean, Jagger went to the London School of Economics, so that's their concern. They only consider their best songs to be their most successful songs. They've had great songs that were not successful. They've had amazing songs nobody's ever heard. Not nobody, but I mean non-fans.
But my question is, why do people still want to go see the Stones today, right? But they're not buying the albums anymore.
Nostalgia.
Yeah.
Well, also
And as
the
far
album.
as not buying the albums, that's why they don't do the newer songs.
But they'll buy the older albums still.
yeah.
It's the weirdest thing. Like when I see a band that I like and they put out a new album, I want to buy it. You know, I'm not thinking like, oh, well, you know, the second album's the greatest album. It's the only one I'm going to listen to. Like Metallica has been able to put out new albums, be near the top of the charts. The Rolling Stones have not. But yet they still have the number one grossing tour every year they go out.
Because people want to hear those old songs.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a massive Oasis fan, and I went to a concert. I saw them many times. But there was one particular concert, and they had an album out. They didn't have an album out for this tour, but they had one out probably a year prior. I think they did one song from that album, and the rest were from the first 3 albums. And I realized they've lost confidence in their later material.
Yeah, well, you go to back to Metallica, they do the same thing. They play all the old stuff.
Yeah, but people are there to hear the old stuff.
Right.
And, yeah, you can still sell concert tickets, but your relevance comes into question, and that has to mess with your head.
Now, were you a fan of the Traveling Wilburys? You remember that band?
Well, yeah, who wasn't?
Right, but if I listened to those as when they came out, I was a kid, so I just liked, this has like a catchy melody. Whatever.
Right.
As I listen to it now, I realize these are only a middle-aged man could have written these lyrics, and that's something you rarely experience in rock and roll because, like we're talking about, people stop listening to you by the time you're 40. You know, there's Neil Young maybe made it past
Neil
that.
Young, and it's
There
insane.
are
John
exceptions.
Fogerty. John Fogerty was all over MTV well into. He was probably pushing 40, if not in his 40s.
Yeah, so there are exceptions, but for the most part, people stop listening to you when you hit your late 30s. So it's rare that you get great music that also has insightful lyrics that could not have been written by the age that most rock songs are written at, like in your 20s.
But are people not listening to you, or is it that the radio stations and at the time MTVs of the world aren't marketing you anymore?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because of demographics.
It's probably a little of both.
You know,
Yeah.
you turn on Oldies 98 now, and they're playing late 90s. They're not playing the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, but it's great to hear Tom Petty was in the Traveling Wilburys, but people like that where they were able to have these popular songs that they wrote in their 40s, and you're like, man, they're talking about stuff that a 23-year-old, they wouldn't even understand, it means something now as you get older. It's great that there's some of that stuff out there. And,
What would you write if you were going to write a song today? What would it be about? What would be the theme that you think would resonate with people our age?
I've never written a song. I can't possibly answer that. I've never written a song. Have you?
Are you serious?
Oh, I like snake. Oh, you'd talk about snakes.
Yeah, I would still beat my anti-snake drum.
Well, you have not evolved as a songwriter.
No, I haven't. Well, I did write about an old fat lady with a fanny pack sitting outside a paintball place. That's my evolution as a songwriter right there. Okay, in that case, are we good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you'll watch Who is Julia and join us next time for the analysis. You're going to watch it. You promise?
I am.
Okay. I think you'll enjoy it. Don't read anything about it. You're not expecting what ends up happening to these gals.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to watch half the Beatles documentary, and then I'm going to watch that, and then I'm going to watch the rest of the Beatles documentary. So I may mix up a lot of facts. And remember when Ringo Starr got run over by a cement truck? Depends how early I get here next week.
Well, we look forward to that regardless. Thank you so much, Chris Morganti, Jim. I'm Steve Rees. Ask you, baby.
Askiwawa.
Tigers.
Tigers.
Eat 'em raw. We did it.